players, the personalities who come from around the world to play professional soccer in the United States.
Go, go, USA! Oh, it's incredible!
In a world where some call it football, football, or soccer, they dare to call it foosball. One thinks New York is blue, the other thinks New York is red. Soccer in America from a German perspective. Let them put some sauerkraut on your hot dog and join them for the Schnitzel Boys USA Hour.
Hey.
Hello.
Oh.
What?
Remember that show? Hello. You ever see that show? It was a BBC comedy about German-occupied France. It was very, very funny.
That sounds
Very,
delightful.
very funny. Very funny. Hello. They will never make a TV show of that.
I have
Highly
not
recommend
seen
it. It's very degrading the Germans, very dating to the French. It's perfect BBC comedy.
Degrading?
Degrading.
What?
There you go.
Denigrating?
Denigrating. I guess I mixed those two words up. But it's Labor Day Monday. It's a USA Hour.
This is why you tune into the Schnitzel Boys. You learn some words. We explained equanimity in the other hour. Now, what's the difference between degrading and denigrating? Denigrating is more mild.
Good question.
I got it.
They're both related to grading of some sort, a negative grade.
Well, there's
Degrading,
one is D and
denigrating.
one spelled with a D, one spelled with a T.
Oh, grating. I don't know.
Denigrating, but degrading
Degrading.
are two different words that can sometimes be. Denigrate means to criticize unfairly, disparage. But degrade obviously is much more.
I think denigrate's the better word then. From hello.
Degrade means treat or regard someone with contempt or disrespect. Break down or deteriorate chemically. Well, that's the same. That's not the same thing. That's not what we're talking about.
I recommend Hello. It's a BBC comedy with a bunch of people in German accents and French accents.
Sounds good.
Do their thing. It's from the 80s or whatever. I watched as a kid on PBS. But anyway, we had ourselves an MLS weekend with MLS games. And both of our teams
you had some trouble with the union, you people.
Well, yeah, that's a great Labor Day. That's a great Labor Day joke. We had real trouble with the.
Hey, you had some union troubles.
We had union troubles on
Labor Day weekend. Some union troubles.
The energy powerhouse drink, where I'm sure their worker rights are great, and I'm sure all the Thailandese soda makers are probably treated very fairly. Our overlords, the Red Bull GmbH. What is GmbH? What does that stand for?
Gesellschaft mit beschränkter Haftung.
That is what the Red Bull. It's Red Bull GmbH.
Yeah, it's like a limited. It's the German version of a limited liability company, an LLC. Gesellschaft is a company or a society mit beschränkter Haftung, with limited liability.
So do they have a board? You know how in VW they have a board where the people work in the factories have to be on the board as well?
I think so. I don't think a GmbH necessarily has a board. Because you can have GmbHs of many different sizes. So I don't think that implies necessarily there's a board. But if they're big enough, they have a board. I think it's like an LLC. It's an LLC in the U.S. Some of them just have one person, and some are gigantic companies.
Well, the Red Bull board have perks in that they are exclusively the members of the Rasenballsport Leipzig Fußball Club or whatever. Because in Germany, everyone's allowed to pay for membership, but since Red Bull is skirting the system, their membership fees start at $5,000 or something like that. So they make sure only board members are members of the club. So there you go. Anyway, these are the overlords of the New York Red Bulls here in Major League Soccer. We played Philly Union. We lost 2-0. Two similar outside-the-box shots beat Carlos Cornell to right, and that was enough they had. We are a very depleted team because despite our quote-unquote investment, We have a very light roster, and Emil Forsberg's injured, and 3 other key players are injured, and 2 other key players are in doubt.
Do you feel like maybe you could use another number 9?
We could definitely use another number
I'm
9.
just kidding. We talked
number
about
9.
that the last 2 weeks.
We could use
joking.
but we could use a player in every position because we had our new number 6 come in today. Came off the bench for a few minutes, and pretty much Roald Donkor was keeping the spot warm for him because all other players are injured. So anyway, New York Red Bulls 2-0. I have very little to say other than I don't know. Womp womp. We're still limping along in 4th place. I don't know.
Well, I have a lot to say.
NYCFC. Every week I say, we give you the opportunity to leapfrog us. You have the opportunity to leapfrog us every week, yet every week you F it up. So why did you F it up this week? Tell us.
Well,
tell us the tale of how NYCFC could not leapfrog Red Bull.
That is not how I was going to approach it. I was going to say that I've kind of had it with the fucking Columbus Crew. I mean,
what do you mean? I love the Columbus Crew.
Oh.
Where's Chad Too Bad? He's supposed to be here for this hour.
Yeah, you and everybody else loves the Columbus Crew. Love to talk about how they are one of the greatest teams that MLS has ever seen. Wilfred Nancy is a genius. How does he do it? They just won Leagues Cup. I don't know. I'm not that impressed with them. Darlington Nagbe is 45 years old. He barely moves in the middle of the park. Mo Farsi is a dribble king. Anyway, we've played them 3 times.
Dribble king, I'll take that.
At Yankee Stadium, they got a penalty that pro referee organization afterwards said that they shouldn't have had. We lost that game. In the Leagues Cup, that everybody's telling us how they dominated and were the deserved winners, we took them to penalties and only lost because Maxi Morales can't score penalties and Santi Rodriguez fell over his own foot or whatever. And so this Saturday, we got another chance at them, and again, referee weirdness. I mean, listen, I will not say. This was a self-inflicted wound. We got another, much like the Leagues Cup game, we got another early goal from El Clinico, Alfonso Martinez, who scored in the Leagues Cup. He scored 14 seconds in or whatever. This time it took him a little longer. It took him like 3 minutes. But another early goal, and again, we played them quite well and had a lot of chances. Kind of dominated large stretches of the second half. I think that's fair to say. And but in the end, gave up 2 late goals again and lost the game. And but really, the thing that really decided the game, which was the 3-2, we never really even fully understood what happened, and I still don't, because Julian Fernandez, who is our winger, he got sent off after the 3rd goal, after Columbus scored the 3rd goal. He got sent off with a red card. And
was this a straight red?
It was a straight red. And we heard after the game that there was he made unwanted contact with the referee. Now, There's no replay. There's no video of this. And Nick Cushing, in postgame, was very upset, and he swore up and down that referee Ted Uncle is not a good referee. We've talked about him before.
We've had videos of him on our channel. Check him out.
His wife is great, Christina Uncle. We're big fans of her husband. Not as much. He should not. I don't
Christina
know.
Uncle, by the way, was on the BBC Euro broadcast. I don't know if we brought this up before.
Well, she's a media star, and she's great. She's a very competent. She's a very competent referee. She explains things.
Her dad, Ted Uncle.
It's her dad? Right? No, I think they're married.
Again?
I think they're married.
No.
No.
I guess we call that a Utah marriage. It's a Utah marriage between Ted Uncle.
Oh my God.
Ted Uncle. You have problems with her husband?
Well, he sucks. I think we also had at some point we had a strange stat where we had I I think the last 10 games that Ted Uncle refereed for us, we only had one or something. Like, I don't know what's going on with that guy, but
He loves his
Nick
red card.
Cushing,
We've always
Nick
known that about him.
Cushing, Nick Cushing swore that Ted Uncle set a pick on Julian Fernandez,
Like a basketball pick?
and basically got in his way while he was trying to defend against the third goal. And as he's trying to make his way past him, through him to defend, I guess Ted Uncle felt like, you know,
Gave him a red card for his own pick.
he gave him a red card for the pick. I mean, the funny thing also is that Nick Cushing saw this on the technical cam, I guess, that he has access to, that we don't get to see. Apple didn't have a replay. The commentators, the Apple commentators didn't even know until 10 minutes later, where somebody was like, Julian Fernandez seems to have been sent off. He's no longer in the field. What has happened here? Like, there was no explanation given. People didn't even notice. So very odd. Another very odd loss against the Crew, who are, you know, who are a good team. I mean, whatever. But like, I'm kind of over them. I'm over Mo Farsi's shenanigans. I'm over the hype. I think, yeah. So this was again, it's like we sort of talked about this in the other hour with my other team. Are you a glass half full or a glass half empty person? If you're a glass half full person, you got to say we played them very well. The greatest, one of the greatest teams that MLS has ever seen, played them very even for much of the game, dominated for parts of it. The glass half empty is we still give up these cheap late goals, and we haven't won in 6 or 7 games, and we are not getting past the Red Bulls. We're not going to get a home playoff game. And it's a little frustrating. Yes, you can. What can you?
Can I read a comment on the YouTube video? I haven't watched this game, so I'm trying to check out replays. And in typical MLS fashion, we're on the MLS referee journey for non-MLS fans. We have fun referee journeys and stuff you don't really see in Europe. So this pick, I don't see anything here. And the fact there's no video is nonsense. There's got to be a video somewhere. But anyway, on the YouTube channel here, CSF Watson wrote, "Man, this ref did everything in his power to keep New York in this game." And then the first response was, "That's Uncle for you." And then a bunch of people are like, "Heck yeah, this ref did whatever to keep New York in this game." So their opinion's a little different than yours, I guess.
Well, I mean, what they're referring to, and this is not. They're not wrong either. I mean, there is another world in which we could have had a handball. He got called to the monitor for a handball.
He's talking about unnatural position and dog so and all this stuff.
There was Justin Hack kind of blocked the ball in the box in a weird sort of forward-leaning position with his arm like this, and it kind of hit him right here. And Ted Uncle didn't give a penalty initially, and then was called to the monitor by the VAR and told to check it out, which usually means, you know, penalty. But he did not.
He got it wrong. Well, where did it hit? If it hits here, it's not a penalty.
It was an odd because it was kind of the thing is that he was sort of leaning forward, and he definitely blocked the ball with the top of it. I mean, it's kind of. Ted Uncle looked at it 87 times on the monitor and decided he shouldn't call a penalty. So that's that. But that's what these guys are referring to. They said they thought that Columbus should have had a penalty.
Do you ever watch Instant Replay?
Yeah, I've watched that a lot. Yeah.
Me too. I like Instant Replay. It seems like there should be a couple of these moments for Instant Replay. Curious is Andrew Wiebe who does it now?
Well, I don't think there can be any Instant Replay about the Fernandez situation because there's no.
Well, but it's on the tactical cam. They're Apple. They have the footage. I mean, there's cameras everywhere. What can happen?
But they're not going to.
No footage.
But you're the expert in state-run media. They're not going to. If he got this wrong, we're not going to. We'll never know.
Pitch it on Twitter. Let him find a way not to do it. I think we should challenge it. Go on Twitter and say, "Please review this, Andrew Weaver, for Instant Replay." See if they'll do a little Instant Replay on it. We should definitely do that. Because I don't know of any cases where he refuses to cover plays. Usually if you get plays, they'll go and they'll cover them. And say, they do this thing where they're not honest. And they used to do this thing where they had when it was a controversial call, they made sure to have both opinions. Be like, I don't know, we agree to disagree. They do that crap sometimes. But let them figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, again, I will say this was not. In the end, we didn't. We shot ourselves in the foot. We had good chances. Munsif Bakra, even though he scored a goal, he also had another incredible whiff. Santi Rodriguez had a couple of good looks. So we could have done better. We have nobody to blame. I mean, Ted Uncle sucks. Sorry. That's just sort of that's not a new this is not a new thing either. But
I'm convinced that the refs union keeps the old guard in charge. Like they've been refs for 30 years or whatever. It's always been the same refs. And they're just the guys who are there. They got on the ground floor and they're stuck in their ways and they do their thing. I am convinced that if you can put forth effort to go to the lower leagues, the college game, the USLs, the NWSL, like to go find better, newer, fresher, younger, and more energetic refs, that the officiating can improve. I do believe there's better refs out there. You can't tell me that year in, year in, Ted Uncle and Alan Chapman and all these guys, always, the regular crew, Baldomero Toledo and all those guys, that is the best American refereeing has to offer. Yeah, some of these guys retired like 20 years ago. It shows my reference point. But like,
Toledo's a legend. But,
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you can't tell me these 10 guys that we see every week are the best referees in American history. In American soccer today. There's got to be younger, hipper, better guys out there. Where's our Pierluigi Collina, right? Where's the American Pierluigi Collina? That dude was flawless. He never needed machines.
Ted Uncle is as bald as he is. That's the only thing they have in common.
It's some old school. Hello, everyone. Just finished praying with my mother, Daniel Young. Very sweet.
Welcome, Danielle.
You pray on a Labor Day. What did you pray for? Is it? Do you want to share, or is it a thing where you're allowed to share what you pray for? It's not like a wish.
Look here. You were asking Chat Too Bad's opinion, and here it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was asking for you, Chat Too Bad. Chat Too Bad. I'm here late. Nancy is one of our greatest coaches of all time, great coach of all time, but he is really not tactically fluid. Frustrates me a lot. NYC should have won the match. There you go.
That's
should have won the match.
That's gracious of you to say. It
was a 4-2 match. I don't think if someone wins 4-2, they shouldn't have lost that match. What's the situation where a team that wins 4-2 should have lost?
Well, the third goal was what we talked about, the questionable one. And then the fourth one was a very late sort of. We lost Matt Freese to injury. Luis Barraza had to come in. Jimmy Sands had a concussion. Yeah, we'll see how this. The back nine are now down to back seven for us. We got 1 point out of the first 2 games. It's not looking so good.
Same with us. Same identical. We are Eskimo twins. Is that what that's called? I think that's what that's called. But we're Corsican brothers is better than Eskimo.
We're Corsican. We're the Hudson River twins.
We're just sitting around waiting. We have a new number 6 to integrate. And we're just sitting around waiting for Emil Forsberg to heal up.
To come back.
2 or 3 weeks is the last thing. Here we go. A freak match for the ages. Goalkeeper sub is not common. Neither are 2 goals in added time. Well, that's true, but that's MLS, baby.
It's unfortunately becoming more and more common for us to give up stoppage time equalizers or losers. That's... it was. I mean, it was a fun game. There was a lot going on. There was a lot to watch. I think those teams are good, and we did not. A lot of MLS teams approach the Crew very cautiously these days, and we did not. We are brave. We have some. We got some oomph on a good day. We showed it against Tigres, and we showed it against the Crew, but we have some defensive naivetés that we got to work out. Or else this playoff run will be short-lived. If we even, I think we're probably still making the playoffs, but
yeah, we're hosting Sporting KC next week, and you're at DC United. Hard to predict. I predict a draw again. I predict we will draw Sporting KC at home. That's what I predict.
That's always a good guess for you guys. You've got a lot of draws.
We got draws at the wazoo. We should be on Pictionary because New York Red Bulls are experts at drawing. They've been drawing all year.
Woo!
Heyo. Heyo. But I watched the game Sunday morning. It was so much fun. At 11:45 a.m.
Oh,
Pacific.
that St. Louis Galaxy game. Yeah, that was a weird time. Why was that so early? I guess this was.
I have no idea.
It was. I mean, it was St. Louis. It was in St. Louis, so not your time zone,
so
but still
what is that,
pretty early.
1:45 p.m.
1:45 is that they are in Central Time,
12:45.
St. Louis. So either
Yeah,
12:45
Central,
or
probably.
1:45. An odd time, no matter what.
I mean, I have no idea, but I'm all about it. It makes me, something that we've been clamoring for, I think a lot of the fans, is the kickoff times. Like, there should be a little bit more variety. It's all Saturday night.
Well, yeah,
morning
you
night.
get you don't get to see. I mean, you don't get to see
Sometimes, right? And sometimes there's like a Saturday or maybe a Sunday early game. I guess that's what this was. In my opinion, there should be a Saturday early game, a Sunday early game every weekend, and a Sunday night game every weekend. The rest can be Saturday nights, but then there should be a Saturday early and a Sunday early and a Sunday late every weekend.
Yeah, I definitely see less of the other teams these days. I'm also like, when we lose, I'm done. Like,
right.
that's
it's like I don't know how much more MLS
it's
I want
like
to watch right now.
if we lose, I'm like, ugh, I don't want to see any soccer again for the rest of the night.
But what I liked is Sunday afternoon, full stadium, sun's out, it's like the Bundesliga, a nice Saturday or a Sunday afternoon game. We should have more afternoon games.
The Burki Royce
reunion. But we had Marcel Hartzell, Edward Löw, and Roman Bürki with the St. Louis crew versus Marco Reus and the LA Galaxy. And St. Louis won with Marcel Hartl, freshly acquired from FC São Paulo, getting the winner. And it was a really fun game and just a fun Sunday afternoon sunny time game, and we should be having that every weekend, is my opinion. But just want to bring that up.
I didn't see. Did Marco Reus start or?
He played the full 90, I think. It was his first start.
Oh wow, okay.
Let me just double check, because with all these games moving in my head, and he was decent, but obviously didn't really affect the game enough. Marcel Hartl was the German who affected the game way better than Marco Reus. Where is St. Louis thing, lineups thing? Marco Reus on, but was taken off at some point. So he didn't play the full 90. He played till Edward Löw off in the 95th. Marco Reus was taken off in the 77th for Dejan Joveljic, the number 9, because they needed a goal.
So he's not a starter now? That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah, well, Dejan Joveljic has always been coming off the bench. But anyway, I just wanted to bring up that game. Other than that, a lot of fun MLS stuff. I know Inter Miami won with what's-his-face and Suarez still scoring away.
Man,
Suarez
Inter
announced
Miami,
international retirement.
If you had told me before the season that Inter Miami, that Messi would miss as many games as he did and that they are still in this spot, I would not have believed it. That is a very impressive season.
Yeah, Luis Suarez has played more games than Lionel Messi has, and he's been there for half the time. And that's Luis Suarez's bum knee.
Daniel is saying NYC is a good team, but I think we need to be more clinical in front of goal. Yeah, definitely in that game. I agree. I'm thankful for our playoff position and think we can keep up with Red Bull for 4th spot. I wish you would be right. I wish I had your optimism. I don't know that
we give you every opportunity to take 4th place. We've been trying to give it to you for weeks now.
And
we're like, NYCFC, take 4th place. And every time you're just like, no thanks. We're not interested. Why aren't you interested in 4th place?
The Chicago game was so frustrating. And this game was frustrating in a totally different way, but still frustrating. But here's Daniel Young again with the big baseball watch. The Mets are most likely going to miss out on the wild card spot. That is my guess as well, and that is good because then we have a stadium to play in, and that would be good. Daniel Young says maybe we can host a 3-game series versus Red Bull. Ugh, that'd be very.
stressful. My wish. My wish. My wish is for NYCFC in 4th place.
Yeah, you said this before.
Since last week,
your wish.
To host us as a home team. However, the only venue available, of course, is Red Bull Arena. So we would be playing you at Red Bull Arena for 3 games as the away team. That's my wish.
I don't think that would happen.
Let's get it done, MLS. Come on, soccer gods. That's what I'm praying for.
I mean,
something like that.
it's all pretty close. We have Charlotte and Orlando on our backs, but you're only 3 points ahead. I mean, we should.
We're the leader of the secondary pack. Like
It'd be
it's
nice
Cincy,
if we could
Columbus,
win
and
a
Inter
game.
Miami are up in the stratosphere,
I mean, I
and they're
didn't
the three
expect.
teams that they're the three teams that can win MLS Cups. Those three. Then there's a gap, and then there's the rest. There's you, me. Was it Charlotte's right behind us? You just said right, and then
Yeah, on
one or
Orlando.
two others. And then there's that, right? And that four.
Then there's another
from
gap.
Seventh
Yeah.
to eighth, there's another gap, right? So we're in
Yeah,
the
there's
playoff.
4 points. I mean, we're 6 points ahead of Toronto. So
Right. We're in the playoff middling pack. That's been confirmed. Like I think we're going to the playoffs.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
year.
I think we're gonna avoid the play-in, but I don't know. Yeah, that fourth spot is elusive. I mean, yeah. Anyway, frustrating.
We're trying to give it to you. We're trying to give it to you. We've been
can't
trying to give it
take
to you for weeks. Yeah. Next week when we lose to Sporting Kansas City at home or whatever, and then you lose even worse to DC United and DC, then it's like there's nothing we can do for you. If you don't want fourth place, then we're just not going to keep offering it to you every week.
Well,
eventually we're going to keep it.
Big news is U.S. men's national team has a new coach.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
Did I miss something?
Mikey, what's his name? Mikey.
He's not new. Mikey Varas.
He's the interim coach.
Yeah, he's a staff
He's
coach.
gonna run the international break. What is going on with U.S. soccer? This always has to be. They can't just like hire somebody and then that person shows up and just coaches the international break. We get another roster from an interim guy while they're sending faxes to Chelsea. What's happening?
Since Kova and Trinidad and Tobago, where we were eliminated for 2018 World Cup and U.S. soccer need to look at itself. Since Kova, the United States has had an interim head coach for 25% of its games. That's 1 in 4.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? I think that's pretty dang crazy. And
I think Germany
that's Anthony Hudson, that's Dave Sarakin, that's Mikey Varas. We've had more interim coaches than permanent head coaches over the last 20 years.
I think Germany has had an
that's
interim coach in my entire lifetime, like exactly one time, right? Like Rudi Völler against France. That's like the only time I can remember.
Right.
Every other time they found a coach to put on.
Not Team USA, baby. We're like,
this is insane.
It's always like why go out for burgers when you got steak at home? So it's like, why go out for Pochettino when we got Mikey Varas at home? You know what I mean? From what I understand, from what's been reported, Chelsea is trying to negotiate some out. They owe him money, so they need to do that first. And the reason it's taking so long is because he's trying to do it for him and 8 other guys, is what I've been hearing. It's him and his staff. So I guess trying to negotiate 8 different contracts.
He's bringing 8 people with him?
Yes, he's bringing his 8 guys with him. 6 to 8 guys. That's what I heard on the Golasso podcast this morning from Tony Miola. And I guess that's what could it be faster? I mean, I imagine so. I don't know why I can't pick up a phone call and make it fast. But the reality is this window is kind of a throwaway. We got Mikey Varas. Our roster is weird in a lot of ways. I don't know if you saw the roster. I would love to read the roster out real quick because. So anyway, with the coach, they're still negotiating. Poch, he's not coaching these games. Will he be confirmed? Will he be able to sit in stands? Was he part of the roster selection? No one knows. I mean, someone knows, but like some people say yay, some people say nay. I imagine it's nay. But we have a 24-player roster. Okay, our goalkeepers are Ethan Horvath, Diego Cochen, which is surprising, who plays for FC Barcelona 2. Diego Cochen is the FC Barcelona keeper for FC Barcelona.
No idea who that is. Never heard that name before.
I mean, I have because I follow the U.S. youth squads or whatever. He's a U.S. youth keeper. He plays for Barca B. Patrick Schulte of the great Columbus Crew, the greatest MLS team of all time. And then Matt Turner, who has upgraded himself from Nottingham Forest's third-choice keeper to Crystal Palace's second-choice keeper. So he has, on deadline day, he's able to get his butt over to Crystal Palace. So he'll get some cup games, which is better But again, a big WTF for Matt Turner. He went from benching Arsenal, getting like 10 games a year, to being third choice in Nottingham Forest. And I guess he's slowly crawling his way back, being on the Crystal Palace bench behind Dean Henderson. But
yeah, but I mean that's still not a lot. That's not a lot. That's still not a lot of minutes.
Because Crystal Palace is an Arsenal, they don't have Europe and they don't have all the same games that Arsenal had. So I don't know. We'll see. Is Crystal Palace in the Europa League this year? No, right?
I don't think so.
Or Conference League? Because if they're in Conference League, maybe Matt Turner can get those games. But Matt Turner should have gone. I don't know. Anyway, so Matt Turner's there. He's of the 4 goalkeepers, which is already weird. It's 2 friendlies. We got 4 goalkeepers, including Diego Cocha. My theory is he's a dual national, and they want him just to hang out with the camp to kind of be like, hey, man, what do you think? Defenders, Austin Trusty, who just recently went to Celtic. Marlon Fossey, also a newbie. He is an English-American. He's part of the Passport Army. He plays for Standard Liège in Belgium. He is coming in. Christopher Lund from Palermo's coming in. Mark McKenzie's coming in. Tim Reen is on this roster from Charlotte FC. People thought, is he going to be there in 2 years' time? Me, along with others, say no.
Maybe not. Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. Chris Richards from Crystal Palace, thumbs up. Joe Scally from Club, and Caleb Wiley, who's been playing up a storm in France. He's had 2 good games for Strasbourg. There's Johnny Cardozo, Luca De La Torre, who's frozen out of his club. Aidan Morris, who's also been crushing it from the Great Columbus Crew into Middlesbrough. He walked right in the championship. Good for him. Yunus Musa, Gio Reyna, and Malik Tillman. That's our midfielders. Forwards, Brendan Aronson, Flo Balogun, Ricardo Pepe, Pulisic, Josh Sargent, Haji Wright. So Brandon Vasquez and guy from Club America, Alejandro Zendejas, are still not in the plans of this Mikey Veras or whatever. And Weston McKennie is not part of this roster as well, if you've noticed. Weston McKennie, who's quote-unquote still getting his feet wet in Juventus. Like they just gave him – they said he didn't have much of a preseason, so they just kept him at Juventus. It's one of those things where I think if the player asked not to be involved, they respected his wishes. You know what I mean?
Well,
they weren't very serious
fighting for a spot, I guess.
For minutes over there.
I mean, he hasn't gotten any.
And Luca De La Torre, he played yesterday, played in the Serie A over the weekend. Luca De La Torre is totally frozen out the squad, and transfer window's done. So it could be one of those things where it's like you've got the time
There's
anyway.
This is a lot of people are hurting for playing time. We have Soccer America listed this. This was before this weekend. This was last week. So, but saying only 4 of the starters of Copa America are averaging 45 plus minutes per league match for their teams. And that's Jedi Robinson, Joe Scally, Chris Richards, Christian Pulisic. That's it. Everybody else is getting less. Yunus Musa is not a regular.
Even Weston McKennie from last season. Oh, you're talking about this season.
This season, the new
right.
season.
I was going to say last season that was not the case, but this season,
but Weston McKennie has he got some time this weekend. You said he hadn't gotten any until up to that point.
Well, the story with Weston McKennie,
Flo Balogun comes off the bench. Tim Weah comes off the bench. Brendan Aronson,
Ricardo Pepe comes off the bench.
Pepe, nobody's starting. Is Tyler Adams still a professional soccer player? We don't know. Johnny Cardoso got a pre-deal for Tottenham Hotspur. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I did.
He got sold, but he's not going there right away. But his future is potentially bright, but he's also not playing much right now.
That goes to my under Berhalter. Berhalter didn't know what to do with him. And it goes to show you how incompetent he was, because he's probably our best holding midfielder. For whatever reason, he can't play in our team.
Well, the Real Betis coach is not that impressed with him either. He got 6.5 minutes. He was averaging before this weekend. So,
however, Aidan Morris has been crushing it. According to our boy Chad Too Bad, Burrow already have a song for him. Estelle's American Boy. Bad at singing, but I think I know that song.
Yeah, he seems popular with them. I saw a couple of things on Twitter. People favorably commenting on him.
Yeah, Haji Wright and Josh Sargent are lighting it up a little bit in the
Yeah,
championship.
definitely. Josh Sargent has been crushing it for Norwich, literally.
Under Daniel Farke, right? Farke's still coaching Norwich, our old friend
Uh-huh.
from Gladbach. Daryl DK might still come back from injury. Remember him? But Brendan Aaronson's been doing well at Leeds, hasn't he? He's only been coming off the bench. I thought he was started.
Well, he averaged 44.7 minutes prior to this weekend. I don't know what happened this weekend. So, yeah, he's getting some minutes.
But it is emergency mode. World Cup's in 2 years, and our Americans need to play. They need to get better. They need to, they need to claw in there. They need to figure it out. They need to play.
Yeah.
Luca De La Torre, kind of like Weston McKennie, maybe he'll work his way back in the squad. I don't know. I'm worried it's looking like he's going to spend the next 6 months cold again. Play, boys. Figure it out.
The Giorena situation is really also questionable.
Gio should have gone to Olympic Marseille. He needs to go. He needs to play. These boys need to go play, Bjorn. Why aren't they playing? Warum
You're
spielen
telling me.
Warum spielen die nicht? Sollen spielen. How come Weston McKennie was the leading
It's
goal
hard to
scorer
blame.
of the year,
It's hard to
and
blame
then-
Greg Berhalter for this, but
Oh, it isn't. It's very easy to blame.
but I guess we're going to keep trying. Yeah.
He's incompetent. You know that. I didn't talk about him using. He played all the bench warmers fine, but when it came to Johnny Cardozo, you didn't know what to do with him. What are you going to do? Yeah, Jesus Ferreira was linked to a move. John Tolkien was linked to a move to the Bundesliga. That fell apart right at deadline day. They're keeping him until January. That's positive news for the Red Bulls. That communicates that they are keeping on their best player through the end of the season. And that communicates that they're trying to win. So that's a good thing. I believe he was linked to one of the newly promoted sides or whatever. Probably St. Pauli or Holstein Kiel. Curious what happens with him in the January window. But I don't know. I'm like you, man. Our players need to get better. They need to get in there and need to play. I know it's tough.
Golden
Go find
generation.
minutes.
Golden generation is underappreciated.
Well, I think it's becoming the bronze generation. What's below bronze? The bronze generation. I want to call it the gritless generation.
Let's build some grit, generation.
Let's build some grit, boys. Let's build some grit.
Well, Poch and his army of coaches will beat some sense into them.
Let's hope so. If they make it in time,
There's a good chance
on their way to the meeting to sign contracts. Manchester United limo will pull up. They'll pull up to the street, and they're like, "Hey, Poch, where are you headed?" It's like, "Oh, I'm headed to Chelsea to sign my release papers to go coach the U.S. national team." Why don't you hop in the limo for a minute? We got something I want to ask you. Then Poch hops in the Manchester United limo, and they're like, "Hey, how about instead of the U.S. job, you start coaching Manchester United this week? We'll pay your release clause and we'll pay you 3 times."
You're so that's so sad.
Yeah, but it's a very real possibility.
This lack of faith. I hope it's going to be.
Soccer needs to get this done.
I hope Poch comes in and fields all MLS team. Get Jimmy Sands and Keaton Parks back in the midfield. Get some red players on that team.
Hey, Jesus Ferreira up top. Anyway, Daniel Young, may please play where in Europe a conk of talent should play. Holland, Belgium. That's
Bundesliga. Lots of young players.
France.
Lots of young players get minutes in the Bundesliga. I think that's why Giorena went there. But at some point, you've got to.
Championship.
At some point, you got to question. I think the championship's a grind. I don't know. I mean, Josh Sargent's doing well. Brennan Aronson is doing kind of well. But I think.
Let me clarify.
Yeah, I mean,
there's nothing elite about the championship, Belgium or Holland. But like if you're coming from MLS, those leagues are like you can step into those leagues and excel at those leagues. You can do well at those leagues. You can't, that's our level. And then as far as what I want is I want us to be crushing the Bundesliga, the Serie A, the Liga, and the English Premier League. But a player of that quality is few and far between. And as much as our American development system has come this far, we're still not churning out a lot of guys at that level, which is not.
Well, or so people also stall, for whatever reason. I mean, Giorena was doing well for a time. Christian Pulisic did great in the Bundesliga, and I think
Yeah, those are the two guys pretty much. Tyler Adams, when he's healthy, is pretty decent.
Tyler
But like,
Adams was good for Leeds in the Premier League for a little bit, but I mean, he's missing so much time that obviously we have to start downgrading our expectations for him, probably.
yeah, yeah. You know, it's one of those things where a small selection of guys are elite enough for those levels, and we just still are not in a place where we're churning out enough guys who are of that level. So we need to keep it going. Like, you know, they're also still very young. This generation of our, you know, like Pulley is the old, and Weston McKennie and they're the seniors at 25. So you know, they still have their late 20s, really. They have their primes of their careers ahead of them still. So for a guy like Luca De La Torre, maybe he can grind down another La Liga club and be a La Liga regular for the next 5 seasons. Who knows? I'd love for that to be the case. But.
And that's also how the cookie crumbles, right? Like there's a lot of talented 16, 17, 18-year-olds that don't get there. And that is also just sort of how it goes. It's obviously it's a very competitive situation. And
there's a lot of guys. There's a new youngster, Cole Campbell at Borussia Dortmund. I think his name is Cole Campbell. There's a lot of great U.S. youngsters like this Diego Cochin at Barca B. There's a lot of great youngsters as part of these big clubs and But to translate that to be a regular elite player on the top league, that's like 1 in 100. You know, I don't know. To actually spill through and actually like for Diego Cochin to be Barcelona's main goalkeeper replacing Marc-Andre ter Stegen, I mean, that's 1 in a million, you know. Diego Cochin, if he does well, maybe he'll make his way over to a second division club and work his way up to maybe being a top flight keeper. And that's already a huge success. Most players don't even get that far. So we have a lot of good youngsters coming through, but the amount of them actually shining through, Blick and Durch, you know, to being elite top level players, there's a lot of drop off there, you know. Like in the Bundesliga, so many young Americans are there, but as far as them being senior contributing players in the history of the Bundesliga, it's few and far between. You know, there's 5 Americans involved in the Bundesliga right now. Kevin Paredes does get minutes. He's a rotation guy. Joe Scally is a regular. Gio Reyna is getting trash minutes. And then Jordan Pifak and Heidenheim, Leonard Maloney are passport guys. So they're not from the American system. Leonard Maloney is going to get the most minutes because he's from Heidenheim. He's a Heidenheim dude, and
he's a local guy.
Yeah,
and it's that's how it is.
We can still keep going. I was thinking about this today. I'm glad you brought this up, Daniel Young. Like the elite are so elite, they're competing with each other. Brazil and Argentina and Germany and England and France and Italy, like their systems are competing against each other. And a country like the United States is playing catch up, but the elite are so high above. Like we should be really proud of how far we've come with the soccer nation and stuff, and I love it all, but we still have way more to go. We just got way more to go. Like our development system is better than it's ever been, and it's still underperforming, in my opinion. It's still not amazing. We still have a lot more to go. More MLS clubs should have more expansive systems. More young Americans should be given more opportunities, and and also the kind of infrastructure we have isn't the same. You know, it's hard. You know, we celebrated Kevin Sullivan. We should have 100 Kevin Sullivans. We should have a bunch of 60. We should be selling 100 16-year-olds over. You know what I mean? We should be spitting them. That's how Argentina does it. That's how Brazil does it. That's how Germany does it. They always have kids ready to go. They just have full rosters and the next man up ready to go. And that's what you need to actually spurn yourself like a roster. That's what you need to filter yourself out to 23 pretty good high-level guys.
Well, and you need the domestic league to keep improving. I mean, that's the other thing. The big soccer nations are the ones that have the best domestic leagues by and large. I mean, there's some exceptions, but there's always some outliers. There's always a Croatia or a Belgium or like some teams that are good, even though they don't have the top leagues, but not always for that long. So that's another thing to focus on. And I think my answer to your question would be go where you can play. You know, like I think there's also I mean, I've said that before. I think there is this like, oh, Europe at any cost kind of attitude, and it is perhaps it is a big cultural shift, and you're not always putting yourself in the best position. Maybe as an American kid, if you're going to, I think it's always an individual thing, but don't scoff at your domestic league either. Like if you get playing time at an MLS league, and you're an established starter, an MLS team, I mean, and you're an established starter there, that's a good spot to be in. Like that doesn't mean don't be too antsy, I guess, is my advice.
Yeah, Matt Turner. I would have probably rather seen Matt Turner come back to MLS than sit on the bench at Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I mean, that is not... obviously he had limited options. He was under contract at Forest. They have problems with their...
he cost money. Yeah.
With their budget, so they can't just, let him go anywhere. So that was... that was part of the problem. So, and that's the reality of being in Europe. He moved to Arsenal on with a fee and with a big contract, and then you're a little bit in
it's been downhill for him ever since.
And you can't. And once you lose, goalkeeper also is a particular position because it's so binary. Usually, you're either playing or you're not.
Playing or you're not. Yeah.
So it's not like you can come off the bench or anything like that. And so,
most keepers don't play.
He's in a tough, right, exactly. There's always three keepers on every roster, and only one of them gets a lot of minutes. So that's always a high risk spot. I really thought, I had high hopes for Matt Turner. I thought he was going to be, he was going to be good. And it's small margins, and it hasn't happened for him. And it probably won't happen at Palace either. And I think he's then probably going to go the way of the Zach Steffens of the world, who was the Leagues Cup hero for the Colorado Rapids, and seems to
he's
be
very
better
upset.
there.
Zach Steffen was upset he was not called in to the camp.
He had a rough. I mean, he did well in the Leagues Cup, but he had a rough start for the Rapids. He did not look good at all. So I don't. I mean, I understand he's upset, but I don't blame.
And Gaga Slonina is in great form right now, but apparently League One plays through international breaks. Do you know that? I didn't know that. So like MLS, League One plays through international breaks, and they've decided that it's best for him to stay at his club as opposed to come for these friendlies.
Which is definitely the case, yeah.
Let's finish up here with a little advice for our Schnitzel Cup, Daniel Young. Bjorn, have you ever spoken at your church before?
Not. I've read, and when I was an altar boy, I would occasionally get to read from the Bible when but not not a speech. No.
Me neither.
You're asked to speak at my church on September 29th for 10 minutes. Do you have any advice? You're gonna do great, Daniel. I've met you. You are a confident guy. You just be yourself, and you're gonna be great.
Yeah, I've done a lot of public speaking in my life. Take a deep breath. Breathing's important. When people get nervous, they stop breathing. So make sure, and you can reverse engineer that, which relaxes you. Just think to myself, am I breathing? So in the nose, out the mouth, it relaxes you, and relaxation is key to confidence. So I don't know what you're talking about. Do yourself a thing, prepare it, practice it if you need to a few times. But they're your friends and your congregation. So look at them in the eyes and speak from the heart. That would be my advice, my friend. But it should be a lot of fun. That's great. That's great.
It's going to be great. And, they asked you to speak for a reason. So,
if you want to say this speech brought to you by the Schnitzel Boys, if you want to plug our podcast,
it's totally fine if you don't mention us at all. No,
at all.
That's
optional. But if you want to plug us, we're open to that. We're open to that. we're a non-denominational podcast. We are open to all beliefs here. Cool. Do you have anything else, Bjorn, for the USA Hour?
I'm sure we could find some limits to that. There's probably some beliefs that we're not open to.
All positive,
but we're not
beliefs.
Right.
Yeah. Love is the core here. If love is your game, you're welcome here. If hate is your game, that's not fun for anybody. We don't need that. No one needs that.
Except
we need
Greg Berhalter. Greg Berhalter is okay to hate, apparently.
It's not hate. It's just honest criticism. Greg Berhalter. Question, Bjorn. When do you think Greg Berhalter will be working again?
I don't know.
When do you think he's going to be working again?
He's going to the Chicago. No, isn't that the word on the street? He's going to be I don't know if he's
I've heard nothing
coaching or
about
if he's going to be a technical director.
Why can't he coach again, do you think? Bjorn, why do you think he can't get a job coaching again? What do you think? He can't get a job coaching again. What do you think?
You don't know what his options are. I don't know. It's
I'm just
like
asking. Why isn't he coaching Atlanta United? Why isn't he coaching? Who needs a coach? Someone needs a coach, right? I think.
Bochum
What are
soon
the
enough.
MLS?
Bochum soon enough.
What if he
Anyway,
goes to Bochum? He's bald.
Let's yeah, he fits the bill.
He played here for Energy Cottbus. He's been there before. He's not a stranger to that place.
I would accept Greg Berhalter as a Bochum coach. I don't have the beef. I don't have the beef that you have.
He played for 1860 mentions. Yeah, because he never coached a team you cared about. Is why you don't have the beef yet. You'll get the beef after you coach Bochum.
That's true. After he coaches Bochum, I'm gonna hate him too. All right.
Well,
I'm
he might be really
to
good
that.
for Bochum.
Look forward to that experience.
He might be perfect for Bochum, honestly. I don't know. We'll see. I think it'd be disaster. Anywho, Greg, we don't hate you, but please don't coach a team I care about again. That's all I have to say. I wish you the best. You know, if you can't get a job coaching, that's okay, bud. Just go figure it out. Maybe get a job selling shoes. We know how much you love sneakers. Like a child would like sneakers. You love sneakers.
I think there's some hate. I feel some hate in your heart.
Hate's a strong word. As an adult, would you, if you worked in a 9-to-5 office, and you had a bald adult who every day came with new sneakers, would you trust him? Would you be like, that's an adult that I trust?
It's so
No,
personal.
I wouldn't trust him either.
It's so personal and petty. I love it.
I would never promote that man. 'Cause that's sure, whatever. I've got some feelings. Whatever. Greg is gone. Our new coach has yet to arrive.
I know.
We're still
so hard to find. I mean, really, that may just be the truth that Greg Berhalter is just the only person available for the job. Actually,
are you still not getting hired? Okay. We will check out these hot New Zealand and Canada friendlies coming up. Let's see what Marlon Fossey and Diego Cochin can do with these games.
Johnny Cardoso is going to be unleashed.
Unleashed.
Going to turn this team around now that he's finally has thrown off the Berhalter shackles.
I mean, one can hope. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Happy Labor Day weekend. See you all.
Always a pleasure. Monday night. Oh.